Hi, I'm James.
And I'm Emme.
And welcome back to another episode of the Bestiary, Monster Manual A through Z. What have we got today?
Today we've got the Azer.
The Azer.
Oh yes. Fun little critter from the elemental fire plane. They're a delight. They are bronze creatures that in size and shape resemble a bronze dwarf with a hair and beard of fire, but they are in no way that at all.
No. They're elemental creatures made of fire and metal. And actually, emphasis on the word made there. One of the things I really like about these guys is that they are created but not born. They are constructed by other Azer. But we'll get to that in a bit. Stat-wise, these guys are pretty straightforward, I think.
Absolutely. They're a challenge rating 2. The only stats that are really particularly noteworthy are the strength and the con. Strength 17. They hit pretty hard and they hit pretty well. They've got a hammer. The hammer, it is on fire.
And so it does extra damage because?
It is on fire. And if you punch it, it hurts. So these guys are the natural enemy of your monk friend.
Mm-hmm. If they take any melee hit, whoever hits them is going to take fire damage.
Mm-hmm.
So straightforward, but not that straightforward. It's not like you're going to come to these guys and just hit them until they drop.
No, absolutely.
Or at least that's not the smart way to do it.
Yeah. And these guys aren't going to be sneaking up on you anytime soon.
No.
They are illuminated. They are bright, so you can typically see them coming.
Because they're made of fire.
Made of fire. They are on fire. And these are the kind of guys that you're more likely to see in a group than anything else. You're more likely to see a squadron of Azers than you are to see a lone one wandering about. Unless
this is like your first encounter, like level 1. And this is the first thing you meet, kind of thing.
And then I know you were talking a little bit more. How they are crafted. They are actually fire. So the brass on top is all a facade. The fire that you see underneath is really their spirit and their soul.
It's really the brass and the metallic element is really just to like contain them and like give them form, I suppose. But yeah, back to the point of how they are, or rather how they come into existence. They're made, not born. And it takes another Azer to create one. And so in doing so, it has to give some of its own fire, its own life force in order to like pass it on to its new brethren. And I really like that from an aesthetic standpoint, because in doing so, it weakens itself. Just that little bit. And I like the idea of like this race of beings that, in order to continue existing, must weaken itself. There's something very sad and noble about that. It evokes similar kind of feelings to, like with the Lord of the Rings, like Rohan and that kind of thing, like just a community or a society or a race in decline.
They just, play slow, lone fiddles as the Azer ride over hills.
I don't know if these guys are going to be playing any fiddles.
Probably not. Not very well. It's made of wood, so... But I know that they live in the plains between the fire and the plane of earth.
Mm-hmm. Where like you get these mountainous volcanic regions where, as you say, earth and fire meet. What's their history, though?
Oh, sure. The reasons that they're there guarding it from the Ifrit. So they used to be the allies of the Ifriti, and they built their city of brass on the plane of fire. And at the end of that process, it was decided that the Azers knew too much, so they attempted to enslave all of them.
Oh, is that why? I didn't know that.
Yeah, and it went poorly. And the Azers got away. So occasionally, the Ifrit or the salamanders at their behest will raid the Azers. It's more of kind of keeping them in line. It's more to remind them that they could be a more viable threat. The Ifrit are mad that they know their secrets, but the Azers also think that they also don't want to try their hand too hard, or maybe the Azers will tell what they know about the secrets of their home. So there's no all-out war yet, but the Azers will guard against Ifrit doings and try and stop any machinations that they can.
Right. So, I mean, we're talking about how, obviously these guys are... They're not going to be wandering in through the tavern door as you are, first meeting your adventuring party. In fact, they're very rarely going to be in the material plane at all. The exceptions are going to be like if they've been summoned to help craft something.
Yeah.
Maybe if they're looking for something. But otherwise, these guys are probably going to be limited to your more extra-planar adventures.
Probably, yeah, unless you've got somebody who's, like you were saying, making something a little bit crazy. And I know from a role-playing perspective, if you're not fighting one of these guys and you're a player who's meeting one, there's a couple of hitches to that. One, that they are rare, they're not super sociable, and they don't speak common. This is one of these monsters that's smart enough to talk to you. It's a person, they are people, but it does not speak a lick of common. So unless you speak primordial, bonus points if you speak Ignan is the specificity laid on top of that. The
Dialect?
Dialect!
Do you speak fire?
Yeah, they do. Thank you for joining us this week on The Bestiary. Have you ever encountered an Azer before? We'd really love to hear about your time with these fire dwarves down in the comments below. Click here to watch more Bestiary videos, and click here to subscribe. Thanks again, and we'll see you next week when we talk about the Banshee. Ooh.